There we go.
There we go.
Oh, all right. So today we are going to talk about the West Virginia Farmers Market metrics, which was formerly known as the West Virginia Farmers Market Census. Census has a very government sounding word. It sounds painful. I don't want to fill out a census, but it's really very, very important for our organization. So we changed the name to Market Metrics, to kind of align with the National Farmers Market Coalition. Theirs is called Market Metrics. And that's what ours are, because we're not really doing a census. We're not reporting anything to the government. And I know that word has that connotation. So we wanted to clear that up and kind of make that more easily understood by our participants. So the introduction is we are the West Virginia Farmers Market Association. We collect this data and we use this data to shape decisions that we make for the local food systems, with the local food system, with the Department of Agriculture when we work in partnership there. So we're not reporting out the data necessarily like that all the time, but we're using it to build our programs and using it to give markets what they need based off of requests that they put into the census. I have a lot of questions. Well, no, I say a lot. I have probably 2 or 3 questions that really ask what you need. If it was a perfect world, and you could just say, West Virginia Farmers Market Association, if we had this, that would solve our problems. And we give you an opportunity to say that in the market metric questionnaire, because your big dreams and your big goals for your markets, we want them to be all of our big goals. We want them to be things that if everybody says, I need shade structures, for instance, and 5 or 6 or 7, maybe 10 people that do the census all say they want shade structures, that's going to become a priority for us, because that's what our group has said they needed. And we can start writing for programming to get shade structures out to people. So that's kind of how this works. So don't think of it as necessarily, I have to report this data. It will never go anywhere farther. Nobody's going to use it for anything. It has a very important purpose for us because it drives our mission. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the census. It was started in 2012 to identify the strengths and challenges in the food system, to see what people needed, what was working well, what wasn't working well. And it's evolved over the years to better serve the programming that we're operating. There for several years, there's been a whole section of pharmacy questions, asking about if you're participating in pharmacy, how many farmers are. And so that was the priority through that section. We've cut some of those questions out now. Pharmacy is kind of its own standalone nonprofit, so they don't necessarily operate as much underneath our umbrella to need to answer those questions anymore. So questions come and go. Last year, we talked a little bit about maple. That was to do with maple programming that we've been included on a grant proposal for. So we're waiting on award for that. So like the questions, they have reason. Last year, if you filled out the census, you're probably like, why are they asking me about maple? This year, if this award goes through, then you'll see that we were going to use information about who's interested in maple, because that's kind of like what the questions were, to determine where to place resources or contact to see if they would be interested in hosting classes or things of that nature. So back to the history of it, we take this report, we put the report in aggregate. Your data is never, ever, ever, not ever, given out as just, for instance, Warwood Farmers Market did this or had this or sold this. That is never, ever, ever done. We aggregate the report, and I will show you guys the report here later from what we aggregated for 2023. And you'll see that it is just aggregate for the whole state sales, the whole state's customer accounts. It's never identified personally by market. So past reports, we have those past reports there on our website. We have 2023s on our website as well. There's probably about 10 years worth on there. So you can go back and look through them, because the farmers market landscape just 2019 and prior was a lot different. It was about 1/3 of the size. So now we have a lot more markets in the state. So this year we've renamed it to Market Metrics And you'll see it advertised as both for this year to make sure that we make the connection for the name change for people. So your participation matters. Of course, like I said before, it's identifying the challenges. If everybody's struggling with a certain thing, I know there was getting people on board with SNAP several years ago was a big priority, and getting more markets on to accept SNAP. We always want to encourage markets to accept SNAP, but that was a big driving force and identify the challenges that people were facing with registering for SNAP and how those programs are working. The census did suss out some of that information. Like I said before, I kind of got ahead of myself talking about the initiatives and how we use some of the open-ended questions that you guys have on there to drive policy making and grant funding. And it's not, again, I want to drive home the fact that we get these reports and we don't just throw them in the drawer and it's never thought about again. It's used to, the statistics from them, your requests are used to find sources of funding to meet those requests. That's kind of what we did here with our ERME class that's starting this fall when we did the mini grants. So if you're a participant in the mini grants or you consider doing that, I know there's a question, I believe on that application as well, that's like, if you know, you hit the farmers market lottery, what would you take? What would you need? And we use those. A lot of people needed cold storage, and we have a program now through ERME to try to get 15 more participants cold storage that didn't get cold storage through the mini grant process and stuff. So the information is very important. Please be very, very, you know, please don't just put like, oh, we don't know, we're good, because there's something you need. Always something somebody can benefit from. And, you know, we might find that, you know, 10 or 15 markets could benefit from it, and it'd be really something that we could take on as a project. Survey takes about 25 to 30 minutes to complete. I cut out questions, trying to make it as quick for you to fill out as possible. If I hate to give the option, but I really, the information is so important that if you don't want to fill out the demographic stuff, you just simply do not have time. The most important questions, there's 5 or 6 questions that are most important. Total sales for the year, customer count, how many vendors you have, and how far they travel. I should have put a slide on here because that how far they travel, we have for a program that we're starting. It should be here this fall. It was supposed to be here this summer, but we had some construction delays for our farmers market education tunnel. And we use some statistics from the census on that. Like there's one slide, one section of the tunnel that's going to talk about how long it takes for a tomato to make it to market commercially versus to the farmer's market. So we're using that 19.4 miles that we had as the average for last year and roughly the year before. And we're taking that and we're saying, you know, your tomato could travel 1,000 miles, and we go through all those steps. And then we go through the steps to go from a West Virginia farmer to a West Virginia farmer's market. And that timeline is a lot shorter. And we have some cool activities to go along with that where participants will have string that goes the 1,000 miles the tomato could have come, or the string that shows them just how short the distance is from farm to farmer's market. So it's a wealth of information that's used many, many different ways. So what the survey covers, again, I have up here at the top, the really important stuff covers your basic information about your organization. You guys wouldn't have any idea how many phone calls I receive, and Denise has in the past too, that says, what time's your market open? And I say, well, you know, this is the Farmers Market Association. You don't have a market, but what market are you looking for? And then we can connect people with your operating hours and stuff. Like that's all in a spreadsheet. So if somebody calls me, asks me about a market, I can look it up real quick from our sheets and say, oh, they're open on Tuesdays from 3 to 6. So that stuff's important. It may seem redundant sometimes, but it is important. And there are questions on the census that if you have filled it out before, like your basic demographic stuff, do you have shelter? Do you have water? Do you have Wi-Fi? That you'll be able to skip through this year if you filled out the census before, so that it's even shorter if you've continued to fill out the census year after year, because we don't need the basic name and information of your organization. We would already have it unless there were changes made. So your basic organization information, then the market sales, customer numbers, and vendor participation. Those are the most important questions, because that's the numbers, the number numbers that we use when we're trying to attract funding. We say things like West Virginia farmers markets brought in $28 million worth of economic benefit to our state, and we need XYZ to support that. So we also have questions about participation in pharmacy, West Virginia grown, and this year we added veterans and heroes because we have our initiative with the Veterans and Heroes program. So we added a couple questions, you know, are you a veteran and hero market? Would you be interested in some more information about that? Because they've got a really great team there that are highly motivated to recognize our veterans and heroes and make sure that those markets have designation as that as well. We talk about community support programs, things like SNAP-WIC, senior farmers market vouchers. We ask questions about amenities that you have, like the things I just talked about. Does your market have Wi-Fi? Does your market have shelter? Does your market have tables? And again, some of those questions, if you filled out the census before, you won't have to fill out again unless there were changes. And then there's some questions about your market management. How are you set up? Are you a nonprofit? Are you a for-profit market? Do you have a board of directors? Because frequently we do get calls for TA. And that's going to be some of the first questions that I may ask, or if you're a census, somebody that's filled out market metrics, I don't have to necessarily ask you all the questions again, because I know before I call you, there's questions about the percentage of customers that are tourists. That's very, very important to markets, because if you call for technical assistance or stuff, the customer makeup matters how you're going to market your market. If you're a tourist market, wasting your time on a whole lot of local advertising is not going to do you that great. Like, you kind of need to reach out more through your tourism groups and things like that to make sure that people are aware of your market when they're in town. You know, necessarily, if your market's not a tourism thing, I wouldn't recommend putting an ad in a magazine. If you're not a tourism market, like if you're supporting your local community, your participants that come to the market are all people that are local, I wouldn't waste my money on a national ad campaign. So that's important stuff to consider. And that's why some of the questions are in there. So if we work together on something and you need any sort of assistance, we have a little bit of background information to come out with good, valid points to discuss. and save time too by not having to ask a whole bunch of questions of you. So the impact of your responses, we use it in our annual report, and that's what I'm going to go over here soon. We've got an image here. Those are some freezers that came through our mini grant program, cold storage there at New Roots Community Farm. We will share, of course, the results, just like we did 2023s, on our website, and we will also share them at the West Virginia Small Farms Conference. All your responses are confidential and only use an aggregate form like we discussed before. And we've discussed how we've used that data. So here's 2023s. That way you can see what we would report out. 2023, we had 47 census participants out of the 263 known markets. So our goal this year, through funding provided by Benedum, is to increase the census number. We want more people filling out the census so that we have the data to share with funders, to create the programming for funders, for partnerships through the Department of Agriculture. We need more market participants, and it's not a huge, long, daunting task to fill it out. Like I said, 25, 30 minutes. And that's if you had to answer all of the questions and you didn't have your notes next to you and you had to walk in the other room and grab your sales notes. Like, it's not an extremely long process. Don't take it too, I don't want to say don't take it too seriously, but just don't make it harder than it needs to be for yourself. Just, it's easy. Just go with it. If you come up to a problem, a question you don't understand necessarily, just give us a call. We're happy to help anytime. Shoot us a message. So here was our known markets. As you can see, our census numbers have been kind of stagnant over the years, even with the massive increase in markets. So our job this year and going forward is to increase that to make it a more diverse group of statistics. So you can see here, we got markets all over the state. So we have census all over the state. We actually have a very good coverage geographically of our census participation. So other data points, there's those 19.4 miles that farmers drove to market. The average market has 12 vendors. Manager roles are broken out very differently. There's a lot of volunteer manager roles. That's 42.6% of all managers. Full-time paid's only 14.9% and part-time paid's only 6.4%. So only about 21% of market managers are paid in any form, which is quite interesting, but not surprising. So we have a lot of markets that are very, very small, and they are just an aggregate of farmers that come together. So they don't necessarily need a paid manager, or they're just happy to volunteer and support their community. So 83% of the markets use Facebook to promote their market. That again, that question in there, you're like, oh, why are we asking that? Well, you know, we see that pretty much nobody has a Twitter account or X or whatever that's called now. So obviously we're not going to waste our time and funding on Twitter marketing or things to try to draw in farmers markets on Twitter if nobody's using it. So that kind of gives us where are people at on the social media thing. That way we can send out ads that way, and we can try to rope in more customers for everybody. So 44% have a website. That's quite interesting as well. So we have the market types. There's actually 6 different market types, but there have to be people in those categories to fill out the census. So this year we had, for 2023, we had 14% were consignment, 14% were mobile, 15.8 were on farm, and traditional markets, including consignments, made up 56.2%. So roughly half out of our 47 respondents. There's that estimated sales number, $28.2 million estimated for West Virginia farmers markets. The reported sales from the census was 15 million. So we get that estimated sales number by taking the amount of time that the markets are open, and then extrapolating that by the amount of markets and the market makeup. Like if we had a whole bunch of year-round markets fill out the census, you know, we have to take that into account because they're open every day of the year. So of course their sales are going to be a little different than a market that's only open on a Wednesday or whatever. So we take all that into account to generate that $28 million estimate. Weekly customers counts for all markets, 17,000 customers. Year-round sales, 14. This is from the 15 million reported. 14 million of that were from year-round markets. 667,000 were reported from seasonal markets. But again, that does depend on who's filling out the census. And that's why we want to get more census coverage or market metrics, more market metric coverage to make sure that these numbers are representative of all of the farmers markets in our state. 40% accepted SNAP EBT. That was out of the 47 that we had responses from. 51% accepted senior vouchers. And so it's about 40 to 50% on the different types of programs, SNAP, senior, and WIC. So we would love to see those numbers be 100%. But it's all a journey that we got to take together and get there together. So we are here with the support for that. Food and Farm is there with support for some of those programming, and we're working together to get funding to support SNAP Stretch and other programs that benefit the markets, because that's a huge part of market income, and it's a huge clientele that could be getting more for their money. So we definitely want to support SNAP and SNAP stretch any way we can. So help us better serve you. We changed the deadline this year. The deadline is going to be January 10th. We kind of did have a two-part deadline, like, oh, if you were a seasonal market, if you could get it in by December, if you were if you were a year-round market, you had until January 5th. Everybody has till January 10th. We'll compile it all together rather than compiling it twice. So it just makes more sense for us to do it that way. So January 10th is the deadline. At the very, very minimum, if you give me nothing else, customer count, total sales, vendor counts, and the miles they travel. I'll have those questions in bold, possibly. That way we can notate that those ones are really, really important. If you're begrudgingly filling out the market metrics, if you could please fill out those 5 questions, that will make a world of difference for all of us. And then, of course, if you need help, you can get a hold of us many, many different ways. We're very receptive. Frankly, I never put my phone down. So most of the time, if I see it, I'm going to take care of it right away. I do have some emails out there in the realm right now, but I am on vacation for just a little bit. So I'll be back next week, and I will dive right into helping people out with in-depth project help and things of that nature. So does anybody have any questions for me? I see something in the chat I did not notice until now. Oh, Shelly, yeah, it does include Instagram. Yeah, thank you. That's one of the questions on there as well. The Twitter one always gets me though, because I think people are using it, but we don't, it's not used very frequently here. I don't use it. I don't know a thing about it. So when everyone's like, we don't use it, I say good, because I don't know how to either. So did anybody else have any questions that we could help with? The questions again on the census, very straightforward. What does your market have? What do you sell? When are you open? And what were your sales numbers? Just very basic information to help us to serve you. Because that's at the end of the day, that's our goal, is to serve the markets of the state and try to get them the funding to do things that they need to do, especially markets that may not be able to do that on their own because they are very small, have small boards, maybe don't have that nonprofit status. We want to be able to help those markets as well and help get them along the way to be more successful as well. So one more question down here in the chat. Oh, no, I think I just read that. Did anybody else have anything else? Wow. All right then, guys. I did it in 20.
Well, I have one thing which
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not with the farmers market. I am with Refresh Appalachia Coalfield Development, but I just wanted to put out there that the Business Builder Subaward applications are now open. So I'm not sure if you all know what those are. And for some reason, I can't put the link in there. But that is with the Appalachia Regional Food Business Center. And that is for farmers markets too. I mean, it's grant funding that is up to $100,000 that's available. So if you all go to the Appalachian Regional Food Business Center website, you can find out all about those Business Builder Subawards. And if you have any questions, you can get a hold of me if, there's information there and everything. But yeah, anywhere from 30,000 up to 100,000. And those applications are due in November. But take a look at that. I mean, it's just like we were talking about. I mean, we're here to help farmers markets grow and food producers, and there is funding available.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Shelley. Could you, if you send that over to me, I know I have a link for it from an email, but I think I got that from somebody else because we were interested. If you could send me the link, we'll send it out to our entire peer network. So anybody that missed it today.
Okay. Yeah, that's a soft, we're not really announcing it yet because we're waiting on the USDA to have an announcement and a big press release next year. So you can't really post it yet, but I'm going to send you the link. I think you can post it September the 11th.
All right. We will keep note of that and we will post it then.
Yeah.
So, Mike?
Yeah, I just had a question. Have you heard anything, excuse me, have you heard anything more recently about Snap Stretch?
We are working on that now. There's not been any updates, but there was, I think, favorable movement, was what Cordell said, the last time I talked to him.
Good.
So we could be making some headway. We are going, next week, we go to a onboarding training for our legislative, it's Voices for Healthy Kids is kind of pushing the Snap Stretch thing. So that's a project that we're working on together. We were trying to get some testimonials when we were up there and saw you guys a couple months ago. We're looking for testimonials for SNAP participants that are willing to get on camera and talk about how Snap Stretch has really changed the way they shop and how it's benefited them and their families. So if anybody knows of anybody that would be willing to go on camera for that, we are looking for 5 people to make some sort of statement of why Snap Stretch was important to them at their markets. So
You might want to talk to Matt
okay.
about that when you have a free minute and he has a free minute, because we got in our market, we got another group to fund Stretch for us this year, so we can continue it when the state backed away.
Yes.
And he got some testimonials from people at that time about what, how nice it was, and the way it helped their families and things like that. So that might be something that can help you.
That would be wonderful. I'll reach out to him as well. I have to reach back out to you too. You're one of those emails that's high on my priority list. I've been thinking about you in the sun, Mike.
in the sun. But you know what? There's no place I'd rather have people thinking about me than in the sun.
So
I know that the Wild Ramp received some funding too for Snap Stretch. I saw that on their social media page, so that's good.
yes, some people are getting supported also by county commissions.
Yeah.
Well, so they're getting smaller pots of funding, and that's just it too with Snap Stretch. You take a market, and I'm just going to use the market that I worked at myself. Like you take a market like Wetzel, Wetzel and the capital market are not the same. A small market, a small town market doesn't need $150,000 worth of Snap Stretch match. $3,000 might support all of the Snap Stretch that kind of market and traditional small town market needs. So it's easier to grab those small chunks than pull down the big funding. So everybody is encouraged to seek the other sources of funding if they can to sustain through this part of time where we don't have the government funding to go along with it. But we are working very diligently to try to restore that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything? No? Okay, guys. Well, enjoy your day, and we will put this recording up. It'll probably be next week because I'll edit off the whole end here where we had other conversation. Just keep it to the points for the people that didn't show up and they don't get their questions answered as quickly as everybody else did, because they'll have to send an email. So if you have anything else, please feel free, send us an email, reach out. We are available. Jesse says now head to the beach. You got it. You guys have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.